Ferry, we've done brake test this morning, which is functional of every Bakkie in terms of safety aspects. Gravel being a 4x4, there was a lot of things that you guys have discussed this morning about the various aspects about the braking on the various vehicles. What was the main theme of the morning for you, Ferry?
Yeah, Dante, the thing is, when you're driving off-road and you have an emergency, you go on the brakes, you turn the steering wheel. We wanted to measure, firstly, the distance, from 80 to 0. And the other thing we wanted to see is, what does the vehicle do when you turn while braking? So those were the two aspects that we measured. And it was very interesting to see the difference in the behavior of the different buttons with factors such as the tires, such as the weight, such as the suspension, everything else that comes into play when you start braking.
Okay.
Now, I think Bakkie can tell you much more about what the feeling was like.
Okay, but in terms of just the aspect of how you guys tested, what is the method of testing?
Yeah, so the most important thing is real life simulation. So we first of all decided that the average person, wouldn't know what cadence braking is or a little tips and tricks of how to do it. So the emergency brake is at 80 kilometers an hour, hitting the brake, and obviously going into a corner while we're still maneuvering while braking. And I was quite surprised, 10 years ago when we did this, we saw 10 to 20% difference between all the vehicles in doing that scenario, and also how dangerous it is. We must remember we're 86% of 4x4s that never go off-road. We in South Africa are one of the guys that use it majority on gravel road. And it's important to see the dynamics of the vehicles on that terrain as well.
Okay. So the measurement we did was with a V-box. And the idea there is the V-box gives you a figure. Nobody can argue. It was done on the same piece of ground, same one after the other. So, very measurable, and it was interesting to see the difference in times. And like Bakkie said, they're very close. It's not as, in the past, sometimes you got a vehicle and it was way out better than the others. These a lot is very close to each other. Okay,
if you think about the various weight and power ratios, what is the expectancy for the man in the street when he buys a lighter vehicle versus a heavier vehicle in terms of the test that you guys did?
It all depends on some of the OE tires, the original tires that comes on the vehicle, are much more prone for on-roading than off-roading necessarily. And we must also remember that traction control, if you stop at the same spot every time, is not the same. It reacts to the gravel and adjusts accordingly.
Yeah.
So that all plays a role, which is not something that you can just do with a supercomputer and data. It changes every time you do it, and that is the real life experience of off-road testing.
Okay.
I think like for the 2500, what blew us away the most, that thing, I thought it's going to be a longer stopping distance, and it surprised us immensely, but that heavy front engine really helps again on the braking side. I mean, the Jeep, the other guy, was very much impressive. The P500's stability while interfering was also very good. Yep. Where I saw the Photon was a bit more sluggish, much more responsive on the traction control, which cuts my power a bit more to get. So all of those things plays a role. In the old times with the fly-by-wire, when you go into a corner and your back breaks away, then suddenly you don't have power to correct it. That is not a good thing we want to see. So that adjustment is already a big improvement in the new vehicles.
Okay. Any vehicle that, in your perspective, is something that needs some attention?
Not really. It's all about the setup and the tires. So, yes, the Ford felt a bit more lively. The Photon, you had quite a bit of experience with the traction control systems. But on the whole, I don't think there's much of a difference in the sense that, you have to be careful with a vehicle in certain circumstances.
Het is 'n bietjie van 'n surprise.
Ja. Bliksem.
Jy dink stop die beste vir almal.
Hy stop soos 'n bliksem.
Okay, super. Next test, what will that be?
We're doing a slalom, and that will, it's a feeling test in the sense of how does going through a slalom course at 60 k's an hour,
Yes.
and how it behaves, how does it feel
Yeah.
when it does the slalom route.
You would think it's not necessary since we've done it on gravel, but we've seen in the past year with a certain H-bone suspension on a vehicle was irresponsive on the same conditions, and it changes everything. So something like that will lift out that problem.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Reguit.